Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about having the 7th and 8th house duplicated in a natal chart. Now, when you have duplications in a natal horoscope, it's the same sign. On two houses, it will always be consecutive houses. So, in this particular case, now, the 7th and 8th house being duplicated or being in the same sign, it often, what it does is it integrates and amalgamates the qualities, the energies of those two houses, and they often interact with each other. So somebody has the same sign on the 7th and 8th house. Well, this could be somebody, for one thing, that may transform perhaps through their relationships may somehow compel this person to transform, to have some rebirth, regeneration, whether it's philosophy or what have you. It could be that even in some isolated cases with the 7th house connected with open enemies or adversaries, perhaps even situations with an open enemy could lead this person to perhaps some change in his or her life, or some great transformation. Now, this could be a person who perhaps in some instances, well, I would say in number that the 7th house being partnerships and the 8th house also rules sex, so perhaps sex may figure more prominently in as far as a relationship with a significant other than average. Another thing could be that perhaps 8th house ruling inheritances. Maybe this could be a situation where the person may strongly benefit from an inheritance, perhaps from a spouse, from a significant other, or perhaps indirectly, such as the death of a spouse's relative, and which may be like an in-law to this person. It may be fortuitous in terms of inheritance as far as that goes. So those are some things to consider when somebody has the 7th and 8th house in the same sign in a natal horoscope. Now, with the 7th house being partnerships, it's also about relationships in general, whether it could be platonic. It can indicate that maybe this person forms relationships with maybe people that are into like astrology, occult, supernatural type fields, perhaps things connected with detective, police work. Those relationships are ones that might figure prominently if somebody has the same sign on the 7th and 8th house cusp. Now, a lot depends on the sign that is on it. Now, let's take somebody that has Sagittarius on the 7th and 8th house cusp. Well, this could be a person perhaps forms relationships with people that can be religious, very philosophical, expansive, optimistic, ebullient, have a lot of exuberant, maybe sports-minded people, adventurous, and it could have a very strong transforming effect on this person. If this person, let's say, if they form their partnerships with people that are interested in astrology, occult, supernatural type subjects, this could be done in a Sagittarius and very exuberant, enthusiastic, kind of upbeat, expansive manner. So these are some things to consider if you have the 7th and 8th house, say, in the same sign, and in this case, as an example, having Sagittarius on it. Now, let's take another example. Let's say somebody was to have Capricorn on the 7th and 8th house. Well, this could be a person that may, the 7th and 8th house, the general description still applies for having the same sign on the 7th and 8th house cusp, but these matters will be pursued with a little bit more, I would say, seriousness, with strong pragmatism, practicality, and this person may be involved in more of like business type partnerships and may go through some strong change or transformation in conjunction perhaps with a business partner or a partner that may be significant other that might be older, or someone that is very strongly, like very matured even for his or her age, for example. So this is some things to consider, because the sign is going to obviously flavor the description for having the same sign on the 7th and 8th house cusp. Well, and another thing to remember is that this is duplicated houses are the result of having interceptions in your chart. Now, if you have one pair of duplicated houses, you're going to have a pair of interceptions. So let's say that this person they were to have the interception in this example as far as the 7th and 8th house duplicated. Well, let's say that they had the interception in the 3rd and 9th houses. Well, this could be a problem or imbalance or lack of equilibrium between just general communication, which is the 3rd, and perhaps or in just maybe dealings with neighbors, communication with them in their own neighborhood. And then 9th is like expanding the horizons, higher education, and there might be maybe some difficulty with that. But if somebody were to have, say, Sagittarius on the 7th and 8th house cusp, well, duplicated signs houses can be a way to extricate oneself from the problems associated with the interception. So the way out for the 3rd and 9th house predicaments could be perhaps the sign Sagittarius, which is about being expansive, being philosophical, being upbeat, being optimistic, showing being expansive, and just being able to go outside the box. And those things can really play a huge role in terms of problems that are associated with having those intercepted houses in the natal chart. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for having the 7th and 8th house duplicated in the natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about having the 8th and 9th house duplicated in the natal horoscope. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.